What is up, guys? Pie Muffin here, and we are back with another Trails-related video. We're going to be talking about Cold Steel 4 here today, and I wanted to make this video kind of before going in, because those who haven't seen my previous videos, I will be doing a full playthrough on the channel of Trails of Cold Steel 4 when it releases on October 27th, which I will be doing it as a live stream series, which I will later, not like super later, but between streams, I will slowly upload, I'll cut down and upload each part for those who can't watch a long live stream but still want to see my playthrough. But I wanted to make this video kind of talking about what questions I have going into Cold Steel 4, because unlike a lot of the other titles, between Cold Steel 1 and 2, there was a little bit of a cliffhanger, but not as much as Cold Steel 3 to 4, where it just cuts to credits like that. I guess 1 and 2 kind of did, but I feel like it wasn't as, maybe it's because I actually have to wait for the next game that I feel it's more prevalent this one, because obviously between 1 and 2, all you really see is, Rean is forced to basically fly away while his friends are fighting Crow, whereas here, we literally see just Osborn pick up Rean by the throat, and then it cuts to credits. So I do wanted to make a questions video and just kind of go over what I'm kind of, been kind of thinking about since I beat the game. Because it's been about 2 weeks. I don't think it's been a full 2 weeks yet, but it's getting there since I beat Trails of Cold Steel 3. So I spent a little bit of time to write down 10 questions that I have. So I guess without further ado, let's hop into this. And obviously, I would be very curious for those who don't know anything about Cold Steel 4. Put your questions down below, but please, to those who have already played it or watched, a playthrough, because I know there's subtitle playthroughs. Please do not spoil things for me or for anybody else. I am trying to not get spoiled. It's gonna be the same thing on my live stream. If I see people starting to spoil stuff in the chat, I probably just won't read the chat. Which I would rather not have to do, but I really don't want to be spoiled on anything. So, number 10, let's start off with this one. What happened to Angie? So, pretty early into, I wouldn't say super early, I think it was in chapter 2 at some point. Or it might have been, was it in chapter 2 or was it before? Either way, it was pretty early on. We got the reveal that George was basically, I don't think we knew that he was working for the gnomes exactly, but we knew that he was, we found out he was bad when he shot Angie. But then that's pretty much all we saw. We saw him shoot her, and then she was just not on screen for the rest of the game. Now, he tried to play it off to Toa like he had killed her, but I find it very unlikely that he had actually done so, because they would have had him show the body or something. So I think there's definitely a high chance that she's not actually dead. So I'll be very interested to see what they did with her. If she really did get killed, maybe they do something like they did with Crow, where, somehow she gets brought back, I guess. But I don't really know. That's one of the bigger questions, because they really didn't hint at anything that might have happened with her. Number 9. Are Olivier/Olivert, Toval, and Victor Arcade really dead? Now, it was a very emotional scene seeing the Courageous blow up like that, but I feel like characters like Olivert, Toval, and Victor Arcade are very important to the series, that they wouldn't be killed off that easily, especially not before, the final kind of, game. Because there is still, especially someone like Olivert, who has been in, I think the only game he has not appeared in was... He didn't appear in Zero, I believe. But he's appeared in every other game at least once. Or he's been mentioned definitely in every game, but I think Zero was the only game he didn't actually appear in. We didn't actually see him. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4... That's 7 games he's been in so far out of the 8 that up to Cold Steel 3 currently had existed. So I feel like him dying like that is definitely a little bit too abrupt. So I feel like they're not dead, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they do with them. So that's definitely a question I have as well. Okay, number 8. What is Aurelia Le Guin's plan with Ash? So, towards the end of Cold Steel 3, we see that basically, I guess he got broken out, and they were basically taking him somewhere. I don't know if this is like some plan for the future. Maybe she knew what was going to happen with Rean and everything, that everything would fail, and she's just trying to, kind of like in Cold Steel 2, how it's like they're kind of on the run, they're in the minority, trying to kind of stop what's happening. So maybe she's just trying to grab forces that she's going to be able to use to kind of fight against Osborn and everything. But that was definitely another thing I had questioned, because all we really see is, you know, we saw one of the mechs essentially just carrying him away while he's passed out. So it'll be very interesting as well to see what they kind of do with him. Now, obviously, I've seen the opening for Cold Steel 4, and I've seen, you know, a couple of the trailers. So obviously I know that he's in it. And that he's, you know, eventually does get back with Class 7. But other than that, I don't know, you know, what was kind of the plan there. Okay, number 7, I probably should have made one of the higher ones. Who is the 7th Awakener? So as of this point, unless I'm totally missing something, which if I am missing something, this is something you guys can let me know down below. If the 7th Awakener has been revealed, but at this point, I remember at the end of the game, they were saying 6 of the 7 Awakeners are here. The 6 being Rean, we had Crow, we had Aryanhad. I don't know how to actually say her name correctly. We had I don't remember his name, but the leader from Zephyr, who was dead and is now alive, so that's 4. We have Cedric, which is 5, and then obviously the big reveal at the end was Osborn, that's 6. So there's still one more that we're kind of missing out on. Like I said, there's a lot of details in these games, so if I am missing something, definitely let me know. But if it's like a Cold Steel 4 spoiler, don't tell me who it is. But unless I'm missing something, we know the 6th of the 7th, so I'm very curious who the 7th Awakener is going to be. It might be a character we haven't even met yet. It might be someone we already know. For all we know, it could be like Black Alberich or something. He might be the Awakener and they're just hiding it. I don't know. But I guess we'll just have to kind of see there. Number 6. How is Class 7 going to save Rean from Osborn's clutch? So if you've seen any of the promotional material for Cold Steel 4, you know that Rean is kind of like, it looks like he's in like a prison basically, and he's all tied up. So I assume he's probably being kept at like the Black Workshop or something else. So I'm very, you know, what's weird to me is like you would think after Osborn grabs Rean that the rest of, you know, Class 7 old and new is going to try and fight to get him back, but that obviously doesn't end up being the case if we have to actually go and save him. And I'm actually curious, how much of Cold Steel 4 do we actually play without Rean being in our actual party? Like, who is technically the main character until we actually rescue him? And how long into Cold Steel 4 is it going to be before he's actually, like, back with us? Because I feel like it's going to be a pretty decent while, since the kind of main point for this game is, you know, he's kind of swallowed up by his own power and he can't control it, after seeing what happened to Millium. What really is the Great Twilight is number 5 for me. So we know basically the Great Twilight was this whole plan where we saw the entirety of Erebonia, and I'm sure some of, you know, like Liberal also probably got affected by it because it did spread out pretty far. The black mist that essentially we saw, you know, that's apparently, you know, around Osborn, as well as we saw it around Ash for a little bit when he actually shot the Emperor. So what is the Great Twilight and what is the overall plan for it? I know they kind of explained what they kind of want to do, but it still felt very vague to me. Whereas we don't really know what the end goal is. Do they just want the entire world to be covered in darkness and murder and everything? Because, you know, we saw people start to act differently once the black mist started to cover the entire country. But what is kind of like the end goal for this plan? And does it have to do with, you know, because obviously we know Osborn took over the Phantasmal Blaze plans, so is it also kind of tied to that? Number 4, how are Crow and Black Alberich alive? So this is one of the bigger questions I have for things, and obviously this question can be used for other characters that we've seen, just, you know, like the leader of Zephyr as well. How are they alive? What is it that the Black Workshop did, essentially, to bring these people back to life? Because we know 100% Crow was dead. We've heard the stories that Black Alberich, who was also, you know, Alisa's father, he was dead, like, actually dead, according to Sharon. So what was it that brought these people back to life? And then same thing with the leader of Zephyr, you know, he had his final battle with the leader of the Red Constellation, which was, I believe it was Randy's father, the War God, and the big question is, how is he possibly still alive? There's obviously some kind of gnome technology at work here, but other than that, there's really no way for us to really know right now until we actually get into Cold Steel 4. Number 3, how does Osborn plan to use Rean as a sacrifice? So the whole thing here was like, you know, how do I really explain this? So we know the story about how Osborn essentially gave his heart to Rean. Whatever that means, how it happened, we don't know. You know, how does he physically take out his own heart and put it into someone else? But that's how it was explained to us why Osborn didn't die when Crow shot him at the end of Cold Steel 1. But it's clear that whatever this heart is that got put inside of Rean is probably the reason he has this ogre power. But as time has gone on, his ogre power has become more and more unstable, and now it's at the point where it's like completely taken over him. Once he saw Millium die, we saw that, you know, his eyes become like black and demonic, which is much different than like what we saw in Cold Steel 2. Like when Ymir got attacked, we saw him lose control for a minute, but his eyes didn't turn black or anything like that. He just took down the Jaegers that had shown up, and then he was back to normal after a little bit. But this is like a full kind of like possession. He was not, no matter how many of his friends screamed at him, he was just wailing on that monster, you know, until he didn't start to regain his senses until Osborn actually, you know, had stopped him towards the end. So I'm not sure what the plan for him being a sacrifice is, but this all feels like some kind of elaborate plan on Osborn's part that he's probably had in the works since he first gave Rean his heart. Still, whatever that means, we don't know, but we'll find out soon. Kind of a token in the same kind of area, what is Rean's power doing to him? So another thing to kind of talk about here is, like I said, his powers become more and more unstable as time has gone on, and what exactly is it that's making it become more and more unstable? Is it the more he uses the ogre power, the worse it's getting? We obviously know that Emma was able to give him that trinket that helped him control it a bit better, but what about his power is making it become more and more unstable to now we're at the point where he's just essentially going to become a monster and just probably attack anyone in sight? Which is why, you know, Class 7 is probably, you know, Old and New is probably going to have to end up fighting Rean at this point to kind of try and bring him back to his senses. But it's really hard to know, like, what exactly this power is in reality and what it really does to him. We knew the only other person who's really understood his power was McBurn, and we only got a little bit of a kind of talk about that in Cold Steel 2. And then finally, number 1, my last question, and probably the biggest thing here. Obviously, there's tons of questions I could ask, you know, like, just something off the top of my head, you know, what's the because obviously I've seen the trailer, I know Estelle, Joshua, Lloyd, and Ellie are going to be in the next game. You know, what's the interaction between Ash and Joshua going to be, you know, like, stuff like that. But I wanted to put down 10 questions that were, like, the big questions. Number 1 is, what happened to Osborn during the time he couldn't be reached? So we know the backstory about what happened to Osborn and his family. You know, his wife was killed, and Rean was injured, and the only way to kind of save him was to give Rean his heart. But then we know after that, after he dropped off Rean in Ymir to be with Tio Schwarzer, You know, he was gone for essentially 3 months. And then all of a sudden, you know, people would say he became a different person. So clearly, whatever this black mist is really, you know, that's obviously related to the Great Twilight, is something that probably altered Osborn's personality, and he probably wasn't as bad of a person before. For all we know, this might not even be Osborn that we've been dealing with these past 3 games. It might be someone else that's just been possessing his body. I'm not really sure. You know, there's no way to really know until we actually get to the end of Cold Steel 4, which I assume will probably be the end of, since it's called End of Saga, so I assume we deal with Osborn by the end of this. But I'm very curious to know the full story of what happened. I think they said it was like 3 months that Osborn just went missing. It might have something to do with the Black Workshop. It might have something to do with just this power in general that we don't know about. It's just something we're going to have to figure out as time goes on. But overall, I'd say those are pretty much my big questions. Like I said, I could go on for an hour talking about stuff I'm excited about, stuff I'm really wanting to find out. Clearly, there's going to be, if you watch the opening or just any trailers and stuff, it looks like this is going to be like a huge all-out war between, you know, whatever resistance is going to fight against Osborn versus Osborn himself. You know, obviously I'm pissed about characters, you know, like Claire and Lecter, who were always very supportive to the cast of, like, you know, all 3 arcs of the Kiseki or Trails series. And then now they're just, you know, being loyal pawns to Osborn, even after what happened to Millium, who was basically someone who was kind of like a little sister / daughter to both Lecter and Claire. So, you know, like I said, I could ramble on forever, but overall, I'm just excited to see where things go. And, you know, if you hang out in the live streams, you will see my reactions firsthand to everything that happens. And I'll just be excited to see how everything turns out in the end. But like I said, let me know any questions you guys have down below. If you are not someone who has played or watched Cold Steel 4, just any kind of curious questions you have. I'd definitely be curious to see what people are most interested to learn, because this is probably definitely going to be one hell of a ride for sure. But that's going to be it, guys. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more if you're new to the channel. Leave this video a like if you want to have more Trails videos like this. I know it kind of came out of nowhere. I started uploading Trails videos, but I really just fell in love with the series. So I probably will do more, especially with the, you know, Hajimari is already out in Japan, in which we'll probably get that game either at the end of 2021 or probably early 2022. And then, of course, we will have the first Calvard game coming after that, which obviously in the West we'll have to wait a bit longer for. But I would definitely cover, you know, maybe any news that comes out with that. It just depends how spoilery it is, because I obviously don't want myself to get spoiled. That's it, guys. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.